Hi, I'm Phil, and this is All Politics is Local, talking about global issues from a local angle. Today, I have brought you down under the barn, both so I can show off my barn and also I have a point. So, my father and I started renovating this farm back in the 80s, and a lot of the time when I was overseas, we'd be calling back and forth, emailing, writing letters, that sort of thing. This started before email even existed. And one of the first things we did was jack up the barn and put new supports. So most of these are new because the barn had been sagging down in a number of places. And if you want a structure to last, you need solid footings and good foundations and solid supports. It's a little bit weird, though, that if the structure has been racked or out of shape for a very long time, then straightening it actually makes other things weird. Like up above, if the floor was ever relaid to account for the sag, then once it was level, the floor was a little bit like that. But it's been worth it to get the barn right. And there's still work to do, but it's a lot better than it used to be. I'm mentioning because I was watching the TV show, I believe it's on HBO, Chernobyl, that came out a few years ago. And it's a fictionalized, but I believe pretty accurate account of the meltdown of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the 80s and the heroic efforts to stop it as much as possible, and the causes of it. And in a nutshell, the Chernobyl meltdown happened because of lies. And many people, including Mikhail Gorbachev, have said that the entire Soviet Union collapsed because of Chernobyl, collapsed because of lies. And that got me thinking about how human structures, companies, countries, organizations of other sorts, either stand or fall because of firm foundations. Firm foundations. And now this is not to say that if a structure does not have a firm foundation, it will collapse catastrophically. And that's not saying that if it has a firm foundation, that it won't catastrophically collapse. But there is certainly a correlation. And I was particularly thinking about this correlation because this is Memorial Day weekend. And Memorial Day, for those of you who are not in the United States, is our holiday honoring our war dead. It started not too long after the end of our Civil War to honor our Civil War dead, and has in general been celebrated to honor all war dead. And it's a solemn holiday, but it is a time to remember the sacrifices that people have made for this country. And it's also a time to reflect on truth, lies, firm foundations, bad foundations, and the really awkward feeling that I have of the disconnect between honoring the dead who died honorably fighting America's wars, but knowing that at least some of those wars were premised upon lies. And absolutely, the dead should be honored for doing their duty. But I feel that the politicians who lied to get into wars or to fight wars that were unwinnable need some consequences as well. You know, I'm thinking about this now because Trump and the Iran war, and there is nothing that we can believe out of Donald Trump's mouth. But this is not only a Donald Trump thing. You know, there were lies surrounding our involvement in Afghanistan. You know, our government knew for years before we finally pulled out that that war was unwinnable. But the government lied. Iraq, poster child of lies to get us into a war. You know, all of the baloney about weapons of mass destruction, when people at the top of the government knew very well that that was all so much baloney to sucker us into a war for other reasons, and we don't even really know what those reasons were. Maybe it was just stupidity, maybe it was oil, maybe it was some conspiracy that we don't know about yet. I don't know. Vietnam, absolutely another case in point. The Daniel Ellsberg, the individual who leaked the Pentagon Papers, passed away fairly recently, and he's not talked about much anymore, but in some ways he was really a national hero, even though he was prosecuted for what he did, because he brought to light that the entire upper echelon of the US government knew that the Vietnam War was unwinnable, but nonetheless kept sending young men and women into the meat grinder. We should honor our dead and honor those honorable soldiers who gave their all for this country. And we should honor them by holding to account dishonest politicians and dishonest bureaucrats who do not tell us the truth. The truth is important. The truth is a firm foundation. You cannot have justice without truth. You cannot have peace without truth. You cannot build anything that will endure without truth. Truth is a firm foundation. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend.